traffic,
weather and sports.
live on TV and across all our social media platforms. Hashtag UBCGMU.
Hope you'll be setting your alarms, cause we are
Looking forward to seeing you then.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
In the wake of the 20th day of August 2021, Thursday, you get to see a new shape of past elections, and that is in reflection of the election petitions that are taking place or center stage right now. 150 of them in the case, but so far we have 2 that have been offered or surrendered back to their owners. Most recent development is the Kamuli Woman MP seat that has been officially given to Rebecca Kadaga, and woman MP to be or wanted to be, that is Salam Musumba, put her tools down, said, you know what, it's okay. For the peace of the Soga region, let us actually mitigate and be in harmony for the next 5 years until the next election. And we had the presidential petition taking the same shape. I wonder if this is a new trend of actually negotiating your way out of an election petition. But that's a discussion I'm going to be having with my friends here. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga and I am joined by Felix Nkunda. Good morning to you, Felix.
Hi, Priscilla.
How are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Very good.
Yeah, that is actually one of the symbolic greetings of the people in the United Kingdom. And it has a background that symbolizes, you know, how the beauty pageants wave? You know why they do like that?
The Queen's wave.
It's basically a royal etiquette, tradition, just like how they laugh, how they sit, how they walk.
So how do they laugh?
They're supposed to laugh 3 times. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, not like Robert. Ha ha ha. Then no, like, you know.
Oh, speaking of Robert, good morning to you, Robert Kirabo. Thank you so much for joining us.
You know, sometimes Felix thinks he's far away from me.
Kumbe. It's very nice 2 meters only.
Just a cup throw away.
How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning, Priscilla. And of course, good morning, our lovely viewers that have made us your #1 priority this morning. It is a pledge, and of course this will be fulfilled over a time to ensure that we spice up your morning with relevant information that you need to know as you go about during the day.
All right. Well, speaking of going about during the day, for going about during this morning show, we get to look at interesting conversations. Of course, we will have a newsreel in a 7 o'clock hour, but we're going to take you through a couple of stories that have shaped the last 24 hours. Later on, we intend to look at the papers, the dailies today, and what are they fronting on page 1 and page last. But also traffic and weather will be ready to give you a direction on how to dress up and where to pass this morning. Good Morning Uganda agenda will be having a topic of discussion that of course concerns you and concerns me and Ruben Pima Chividango, or it comes down to crown it down with the sports update. Now we want to know from where you are this morning. There is a sun that is coming up from your window, and we want to have a picture of the sunrise through your window or through your lenses or through your office for that matter. Wherever it is that you are this morning, we want to see how the sun is rising up from that direction. So send us a picture of your sunrise on our WhatsApp line, which is on your screen, and we'll be able to be in awe of it. And Molin Kenyana will definitely be excited to see where exactly it is you are. Remember to leave your name and also to leave us where you are taking that picture from. Now, speaking of which, election petitions, Felix. We have had an interesting turn of events. So far, these are 3 cases. There's one that happened in Gulu, whereby same mitigation. You know, it's okay. You can take the seat officially. We have seen Kamuli Woman MP seat also being handed over free and fair, which then begs the question, why did we petition these things in the first place?
You see, time heals. If you notice and look at many a times, even that's why they don't advise you to make decisions out of the heat of the passion or heat of the moment, if I may call it. Over time, people have been healed, wounds have been batched, and maybe the scars could be evident, but souls have been mended. And you're going to see this more and more and more and more. But if also noticeably, I am not surprised that it is ladies who are coming out in the case of Madam Kadaga and also Madam, Musumba. I'm not surprised. It is so fond of women. It's easy for them to let go of things than our colleagues or our gentlemen who would want to prove and or have clashing egos, and all this kind of thing. But also for me, I attribute this to time, and I think the fact that they give it some time. By this time, people have mended, have, recapped. There's even room for them to have reconciled. I'm assuming Honorable Kadaga could have met with Salam Musumba, and they could have chatted ways forward. Like, I'm sorry if I did this, okay, this kind of thing. And probably if we have, that's why, for example, when you go to commercial court, they first give room for these mediations. And I think that's the reasoning behind these cases from the Chief Justice. That's, let's give them time. Now you see it's already reaping fruit. Okay,
all right. Felix speaks about the ego of men, but Honorable Chagulani withdrew from the presidential election petition. Most recently on Tuesday we had in Gulu, the city mayoral seat also had an election petition, but one member decided, you know what, it's okay, my brother, for the sake of Gulu city, you can take one.
After mediation by the Bishop Emeritus.
Yes. Usually what happens in these petitions is that, like Felix said, time heals. What happens is after the elections, someone's declared a winner. It is easy to say, I'll go to court. Many, I'll use how they say it in my language. And chidako means we are going to court, we are protesting. But after some time, I think people really, and even these other teams, sit together and understand, because if you look at most of the people that have withdrawn, they'll tell you, for the good of our district, for the good of Kamuli, for the good of Gulu City, for the good of this. So later they come to realize that it's not only about me, but there is life after this. Then second, also our court process is also a bit tedious. I'll give you an example.
Most especially during COVID-19.
You're going to be in this process because if it's done at the High Court, someone will appeal. If they choose to, then at the end of the day, you may even complete a full term. 5 years and the person is still in parliament when you don't secure the judgment. So this also in one way or the other, if you have a good legal team, they may look at the pros and cons and tell you, you know what, this is what is happening. If there was a time frame that within this particular time, this has to be done both in the High Court and Court of Appeal, but it's so lengthy and it's expensive. Justice has become expensive in our country.
Well, justice has become expensive, but if we have more of these cases, because we have about 150 5 cases, and it was given about 1.2 billion shillings to actually cater for these cases to be cleared and put to shelf. Now this, if we continue with this trend, it's going to save Ugandans the cost burden of justice, which is a discussion we had earlier on this week. Away from that conversation, we now get to turn our attention to the stories. For the last 24 hours, at the Afghans, we had parliament yesterday, members of parliament asking for a plan on how exactly we're going to be hosting the 2,000 Afghanistans, yet Ugandans on the other side are rejoicing that yes, let them come, we're ready to receive them, we're ready to marry them. Ugandans' versions of, you know, dealing with situations is very funny, which is a coping mechanism that I think is very nice. But Robert, what do we have in the last 24 hours?
We're starting with the same story. That is the Afghanistan refugees expected in the country. I love the other aspect you've talked about. We are ready to mingle and interact very well.
In a few years, you'll be I'm a half Mchiga, half Afghanistan.
Okay, well, let's kick it off with that story regarding the government of Uganda has clarified that plans are still underway to have over 2,000 refugees from Afghanistan jet into the country, as opposed to what is reported that the first contingent was expected in the country on Tuesday, the 7th of this month. The Minister for Information, Communication and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Badiomunsi, in an interview with UBC, noted that government of Uganda is still engaging the relevant authorities as per the mode through which they can have these refugees in Uganda. Upon conclusion, formal communication will be relayed to the public using relevant channels.
Medical schools not following the set standards to curb the spread of COVID-19 risk closure, according to the Minister of State for Primary Education, Dr. Joyce Moriku Kaduchu. Dr. Joyce yesterday visited Mulago Medical School to check on their operations.
The outgoing Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, Vincent Bajire, has tasked the new team at the ministry to fast-track the implementation of the digitalization of government works and enhancement of government communicators portal to streamline government communication. Bajire was yesterday afternoon handing over instruments of power to his successor, Dr. Amina Zawedde, at an event presided over by the line minister, Dr. Crispus Badiomunsi.
Ramadan Govi, the new permanent secretary and secretary to the Treasury at the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, has been officially handed the office from Patrick Okaliap, the deputy secretary to the Treasury, who has been acting in the position for 9 months now. The handover ceremony took place at the Finance Ministry's offices here in Kampala. And a famous court bailiff, Moses Chirunda, has been charged and remanded by Chitalia prison for allegedly murdering a city businessman. The 57-year-old Chirunda is said to have killed Mugwanya Majid, a resident of Chituzi zone in Lunguja, a Kampala suburb. He is battling the charge with Major Nelson Max Chatuka, a UPDF officer attached to Chieftaincy of Military Intelligence Headquarters in Mbuya, Kampala. Well, that is what we have for you on the local scene, as the president did come out to say on Saturday that human rights do matter. Now we are seeing a lot, not a lot, but at least you're starting to see justice coming through, and people that are law enforcers being brought to table to account for the actions that they have done in the most recent days, months, and perhaps years. But just to remind you that Hallelujah Ginger Tea Drink is the drink for you this morning. It is green in comes with that bitter feeling within your throat, which actually helps to clear the clogginess in the throat every single morning. When you wake up, your voice, because you've been sleeping all night long, you feel some sort of clogginess, you need that to clear out. A Hallelujah ginger tea drink is the best option for you. So find it in a kiosk, in a supermarket. It's a very affordable 1,500 shillings, and you get to take one every single day. The alternative to that is that you also get to control your blood sugars and your body pressure, which is to your advantage. So try it out today.
About Taliban's, now we see here Taliban's coming out to block people who are trying to access the airport. Now, Deputy U.S. Secretary of State, that is Wendy Sherman, on Wednesday said the U.S. is aware of the reports that Taliban are blocking Afghans from reaching the Kabul International Airport, and that is a contradiction to the promises made by the group to allow safe passage of those wishing to leave the country. Now, we have seen reports that the Taliban, contrary to their public statement and their commitment to our government, are blocking Afghans who wish to leave the country from reaching the airport. Sherman, and second-ranking diplomat at the State Department, told Reuters in the briefing room. Now, our team in Doha and our military partners on the ground in Kabul are engaging directly with the Taliban to make clear that we expect them to allow all American citizens, all third-country nationals, and all Afghans who wish to leave to do so safely and without harassment. Now, she also mentioned that Deputy Secretary remarks to the press came at the same time the U.S. Embassy in Kabul sent out an alert that it could not guarantee safe passage to the airport. Now back to Africa, we're looking at Ethiopia, where we see several killed in Addis Ababa flash floods. Now, flash flooding killed at least 7 people in Ethiopia capital Addis Ababa after torrential rain. Officials came out to make mention, and images from the city on Wednesday showed firefighters wading through brown water to inspect flooded houses. In one instance, walking through sludge with a stretcher to remove a body. Now, houses and cars were submerged by the water after a downpour, which pelted several neighborhoods of Addis Ababa on Tuesday, causing chaos. Addis Ababa Fire and Emergency Prevention Rescue Commission said even at least 7 people had died and that others were receiving treatment in hospitals, according to the State Afflicted Banner Broadcasting Corporation. Back to Zambia, where we see Hakainde Hichilema, the Zambian cattle boy who became president. It was a case of 6th time lucky for Kanyanda, who was finally become president of Zambia after 5 unsuccessful attempts. Mr. Chilema defeated the main rival, the outgoing president Edgar Lungu, by more than 1 million votes. Now, but who is the new president, and why has he succeeded after 5 years of failure? Mr. Hichilema, 59, has described himself as an ordinary cattle boy who herded his family's livestock in his youth before going on to becoming one of Zambia's richest men. The president-elect and leader of the United Party for National Development is widely referred to as HH. He has born into a humble beginning before managing to get a scholarship to the University of Zambia and later graduated with an MBA degree from the University of Birmingham in the United Kingdom. Well, clearly from grass to grace, as they always say, and probably that's also a message of hope to all of you people out there who have been standing for how many years, and up till now you have not yet gone through. You can do it, as the saying goes. We hope and pray that we will also one time wake up to start reading stories about you. So the cattle boy, the president now of Zambia, let's see how far he can take the country. Priscilla.
Yes. You talked about grass to grace, and then I was thinking, what happens to Shabira? What happens to Patricia? For them, from grass to, you only consider grace.
Okay, from grass to Priscilla. But anyway, cattle boy.
Cattle boy, yes.
I must learn something to do with cattle, because it seems there is so much that can lead you to leadership.
Maybe too late
when you
for
go
you.
Through cattle
when
rearing.
you go through cattle.
So there's just this one. There's just this.
I see what you're trying to put
So if you're
together.
standing and you've not gone through cattle,
Eh.
chances may not be so much.
So the secret is in the cows, or?
That is something we shall.
Oh no, actually, the secret is in the management of cows, because you know it's an knowledge
Citizens,
of,
you want to relate citizens to cows now?
Exactly, yes. If you're practicing for the future, so the way you handle cows, the way you manage cows, to milk them, feed them, take them wherever it is that you have to take them, yeah, it's a training skill. So yeah, so rearing animals is not a bad thing. You actually learn a discipline or two that you can apply in real life, which is a positive.
And consistency is also another virtue. 5 times trying. Here in Uganda, they'll tell you you've
If
tried
you
5
believe it,
times.
do it until you actually get it. Until you actually get it. And
So-
if not, then continue doing it.
Hope is not lost.
No, hope is not lost.
Continue. Try.
Yes, Felix.
Well, of course, do be able to also join us, viewers there, into making comment on some of our topics of discussion, like public up or any stories that you picked interest in. Probably also the Cattle Boy story. I don't know how that would guarantee someone's success, as Robert may attribute.
Hey, ask the
But
president
just-
of our country. Yeah.
I don't think Biden and don't know even. Anyway, let's just leave that to that. But anyway, we also have a poll question which we would expect you guys to do, give response to, and it goes now: suggest ways on how learners in rural communities can adopt online education. Suggest ways on how learners in rural communities can adopt online education, and you'll be able to make comment and also give us your reply and thoughts about all these topics. You can catch us from our YouTube channel. Also, we're streaming live, Facebook, Twitter, and of course, live on TV. Just one last question, guys, before we go to a break and have our song for the day. Yesterday, I had some time to think. I was trying to read something, preparing for some matter, and then I had to go back and read something to do with lies. I thought I should ask you, how do you tell someone is lying, Robert?
I usually look at facial expression.
Which expressions?
You would see lack of confidence sometimes when someone is speaking something that is not really true.
Okay, like what I'm asking, how do you see that? Is it when they smile, when they blink? How do you see that? How would you tell?
Yes, a smile could be part of it, but also sometimes the pronunciation of words. One may not sound confident as they usually speak to you. Some may slow a bit, and then you would know, if this person is really telling me the truth, why isn't he flowing naturally like they speak? Because they're trying to connect one thing from the other which never actually existed.
Okay, you've not met good liars then. Priscilla.
We go into our song for the day. When we return, we'll start with that question. Good morning, you guys.
from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by was brought to you by
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial *175 *94# to activate their 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy a 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial *175 *94# to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Dial *175# and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning once again. Welcome to our newsreel. Priscilla Naloga is my name, alongside Felix Nkunde and Robert Kirabo. We've just had a throwback Thursday song, Karimba. Is it Karimba? Karimba. A very interesting song, but it's Felix who is our music bank here. I don't. That's all I know in the song, by the way. But let's first throw back to this song a little bit.
Wow. You've caught me my sleeves down, I will be honest with you on this one. But I know that I used to dance to that song, as a matter of fact. And however, it was one of the most modern videos then. If you look at how the dress code is, it had a history, a bit of Rastafarian fusion. And it's one of those songs that was in the realm of it was the same timing of the Fugees, the Rough Riders, that same time. I guess this must have been a selection of Ruben. Yeah,
and how would you know, Ugandans, we are good at finding our own version of singing such songs. How would you sing that song?
Talimba.
Talimba. Yeah, the one was talking about liars, Arimba.
Trust me, and so many songs here. Like for example, I know.
Isn't it what they say?
No.
Oh, really?
This is South African. This is people are singing Sosa. And people were singing Ohama, Samuel.
Honestly, that is what I know.
There is one also.
Which one?
It is complicated. The way the Ugandan version of it.
Okay, all right. Away from that, now we get to enter into our newsreel story. But we want to know from you, from our poll question, we're going to be looking at education and how can we actually forge a way forward together to ensure that education is consumed as a right for every person that is Ugandan. And so our poll question this morning, as it comes on your screen, we had the Parliamentary Committee on Sports and Education actually having a meeting with the Ministry of Ministry of Education and Sports officials headed by Minister, that is the First Lady Janet Kataha Museveni, and really they were inquiring about education. What is the way forward? There had been a recommendation that perhaps they could revise the academic calendar year, and when it starts, maybe adjust it to start in October, because of how the last year has been. When you look at the education system, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, schools were shut down in March 2021, and the rest of the following months, 5 to 6, 7 months, there was no education practically. Then the president comes out in September and starts to release some entities with SOPs adherence being very key to them reopening. And so education and sports were among those that were given the green light to actually get back on ground. Now, when they got back on ground, we had education reopening, but majorly for candidate classes, P7, S4, and then senior 6. And then after that, around January, February, March, they did the examinations, and then in April, June, we had pre-candidates also now getting into education system, getting back to school. Just before the lockdown of the 42 days, we had other classes expected to return back to school. But then we had the 42-day lockdown, and education went back to a standstill all over again. How can we forge a way forward? Would have to date back to the reason and the role of education and relevance of education in such a time as this, with or without the pandemic. Felix.
Well, I loved your choice of words for the preamble of this discussion, and I did take note of one particular one where you say that you choose to use the word to forge. Clearly, we are in a dire situation, and globally, we're not much different from elsewhere in the world, but we are, as a matter of fact, part of a general problem, a continental problem. The question is, how have other people handled it? Has it yielded success, or has it still only caused irrelevant recourse? What am I saying? For you to understand the dilemma we are in as a country, when you talk about education, most recent, you will have to look at about 3 or 4 things. And one is, what is education in the sense of a third world country, because we merely talk about education, but what is education? And if you may go further in the same, you will want to discuss education, tailoring it to a third world country. In particular, you may choose Uganda as a case study. In this sense, education would be defined, in my opinion, as one of the most fundamental tools of change for a dire country like this. And this would cut across in all sectors, like social, economic, political, religious, cultural, just to mention but a few. You may not discuss it as going to school, but it is one of the tools for fundamental change that can assist a country move from third world to middle status, and later on probably first world education. That would be for me. The second attribute would be that you would want to understand what kind of education do we have. After understanding what education is, we will go down to break it down into what kind of education does a country, a third world country, need. You see, there are two things that we must also create distinctly when you're discussing education. The causation of need and want in terms of education. What kind of education do we need away from what we want? Does a third world country need education that is relevant to theory, that is relevant to class attendance? Or does it actually need education that is most relevant to at least that can cause development and change?
So in that regard, we have the formal education and the informal education.
Exactly.
You have the theoretical and the practical nature of consumption of education.
At what degrees? Or the ratios, if I may ask. Because when you bring in the notion of theory vis-a-vis practical, then you would want to rationalize and know that what ratio does practical class take versus what ratio does theoretical classes take. And now, once you answer that question, you will easily know why today in COVID-19 we are stuck. It is easy. It's simply, it's 1 equals to 2, not 11. That as long as you know the ratio, what is the ratio for practicability in terms of education in this country versus the theoretical, you will be surprised that 99% of education in third world countries is theoretical. And that's why most of all, and only not being Uganda, are stuck. I can name many countries. But I can tell you as a matter of fact that countries that have appreciated 90% practical methodology of education are not stuck. Because
our neighbors, Kenya, actually, we have had cases whereby Ugandans who can afford have actually transferred their children to the Kenyan education system.
And I think for them, for the Kenyan case, you will be even surprised that it may not be necessarily related to practicability of study, but for them it is about choice. They know the relevance of that, the education sector for them, and they are willing to risk many things for that. And I think also for them probably, so there's a political gimmicks, because they are going into politics, they have to find ways of justifying. Even the kids we took them, we can have, so I think I would want to think widely like that. But bring it back to our situation. We are stuck because we chose, and we have chosen, that one I want to be clearly on record, that even when we have had chance to transit, we have not. Imagine if people in, let's say, at least from S1 to S4, were doing a syllabus by 70% practical. It would be easier to teach them from wherever they are. Because the syllabus, let's say we at S1 we learn how to put together or assembling whatever, in case you're doing something related to engineering and what. You didn't have to be in class. You don't have to merge from wherever Kisoro, Guru, Nabera, pick what, to come and learn to come and learn Tutangoni, KwaZulu, and then the great trade, some funny things.
The Mau Mau Rebellion.
Yeah, you only needed Professor Kirabo to tell you, people, where we stopped in making a cup, just instructions. The next time, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. It would be much easy. Now, that would mean, and let me just say this lastly, that for us to answer this question, And while we are in this position, and may not move, by the way, however, sometimes to build confidence, these things come up. We are talking, we are talking, we are talking. It's because of the kind of education and how we have defined education. Once we define education as part and parcel, piece of that will deliver this country to the promised land in terms of movement, socio-economically, then it will be easy. But because now we define education as a sequence, Kirabo will go to mwana yana yali mu top abangu bagende mu P1
at the end of the day, yes.
Secondary university abasobodde, and it's just a routine thing away from knowing. That's why even the people who teach, you look at them, but yeah,
we are looking at you, sir.
Okay, not at my level.
Well, we are looking at you, so our eyes are very close to you. Now, with his submission, Kirabo, when we look at a very interesting statement that was made by the spokesperson for the Ministry of Education and Sports, that is Dr. Dennis Mujimba, he came out to say that they are looking at modalities. One of the modalities that they are considering is adjustment in the calendar year and also adjustment in the syllabus. We do have senior ones, supposed senior ones, and also supposed senior fives that are supposed to be resuming schools, and they're looking to adjustments in how they can actually change the timelines for them returning to school in this time of COVID-19 pandemic and schools shut down.
Well, Priscilla, before I go to that, I want to first have a bit of a background why we have hit the rock at this time. First and foremost, Felix talked about education system, but we must understand we've never sat as a country to come up with something that is tailor-made for us as Ugandans. When you look at our education system, it was brought by the missionaries, its background, and they were looking for certain people that were going to help them in their administration. So we've never, even when we had a curriculum here recently, looking at it, you will see who are the brains behind this. It wasn't Ugandan tailor-made, or it wasn't the brains of Ugandans that thought through to come up with this system. So we still have a problem to identify which Ugandan do we need and which education system do we need, because you have formal and informal. Today you find that a person who breaks off maybe at senior 4 and goes to a technical institution will go into market, and whereas a person who continued, even will leave and look for a job. So we still have to define the nature of education we need. Then second, when the ministry talks about changing the calendar, then the syllabus, still there are two problems that we find very hard to solve in this country. One, if we are still looking at practical presence in classroom, this may take us ages unless we are going to do it the political way. That is not safe, but let's go. Let's take an example. When we resumed classes for the semi-candidates, by closure of schools, the infection rate in schools of COVID-19 was so high. Yet we opened, convincing ourselves that we had a proper plan to put in place. We had CGE inspectors of schools. We had teachers taken and trained. The ministry assured us of how they had proper. Even we had inspection teams that went and accredited schools. You open, you don't open. By the end of the day, the magnitude of infections, and recently when we hosted Honorable Moriko Kaduku, Minister of State for Primary Education, she said we accepted. We were faulting these soaps, and we failed at that. Then also, the other thing for that to happen would have been when you've vaccinated. But looking at how we are getting vaccines in Uganda under COVAX, African Union, which you've not yet gotten, the scarcity of vaccines, that automatically shows that it may take ages to have the teachers vaccinated, all teachers vaccinated, then to have those 18 and above school-going vaccinated. Remember, we are looking at about 15 million school-going. So when are we going to get that to that? When Uganda so far vaccinated slightly above 1 point something Ugandans. So for me, I believe presence, practical education in school is something we should move away as a country. Either we invest more in broadband extension so that people can get internet, we move that direction, or we find ways of ensuring that we deliver teaching materials to them. But this issue of thinking at such a time, countries are in third waves. We are hearing even of fourth waves. Here we are as a country, we are very complacent when it comes to issues we should focus on, and we think we can have our students, our pupils, back to school and observe SOPs. To me, I think that is a dream far-fetched.
Well, it's a dream far-fetched, but it's possible. We can't really throw it out of the window. But you've talked about vaccination. Felix, we've had teachers actually appearing on priority list for vaccination groups, and they have sent out an urge for teachers to actually get vaccinated. Most recently, we saw the Ministry of Education and Sports also recommending that this vaccination done fully for teachers and also for students above the age of 18. But the intake of these vaccination drives by those particular groups, teachers and students above 18, is still on the lower end. Now, doesn't this actually beat what the government is trying to achieve in order to aid the reopening of the education system?
Definitely it does, because the true custodian who should be vaccinating people can. They cannot. I think not until the minister came out a couple of days ago to say that it was okay for individuals or private institutions, if they can access some of these vaccines, to go ahead and vaccine their workers or what. However, that's why in one of my earlier submissions I stated, and that's why I said I loved your choice of word when you say forging. How do we forge around the circumstances that are before us? All right?
So the circumstances currently, we don't have enough vaccines just to cover those two particular groups. Yes.
And that's a given. It's a fact. Now, once, and I've always told people, the most easy thing in life to deal with is a matter of fact.
Being honest.
So how do we forge a way forward? What am I saying? There are many suggestions. People have suggested. You see, the problem we have had is that people are not engaging. And this is what we feel, that the institutions of government are not engaging.
They're not engaging the stakeholders,
yes,
which is the student, which is the teacher, which is the school owner,
and
which
even
is the parents.
Even the country at large. You see, being a technocrat sometimes can be defeated. Clearly, by this time, if they are technocrats, they have been defeated. Let's engage all other people. We have had sessions, we have had a time in this country where people are studying in shifts. Because if the argument is about congestion, can we have shifts? We must do everything possible to keep the education sector moving. You cannot put education to a standstill in a third world country. It is the only hope, and I'm being honest, the only hope this country has is an elite regime, is an elite generation. The hope is not in a good politician, no. Because at the end of the day, it is from the masses that the right choices could be made. Things that make up a country is having, for example, a medical task force. You know, country, you must have all sectors must be alive. Now, you're risking the next 20 years of this country. You cannot have education at a standstill. That's why I said I love the word forging.
So
it's not that we are going to be accurate, but we must be doodling on something. We must be staggering on some way. And that's why I want to borrow the words of Martin Luther King Jr. when he said that in times like this, if you can fly, fly. If you can run, run. If you can walk, walk. If you can crawl, crawl. But do anything possible to make sure there is movement. However slow it will be, we must find ways of keeping the education sector.
Kirabo, how with the stakeholders, you're looking at the students, you're looking at the teachers, you're looking at the schools or the institutions, you're looking at government, all these stakeholders in this conversation we're having this morning, forging a way forward for the education system to actually keep alive amidst COVID-19. What can be the role and contribution of these particular stakeholders in actually ensuring that?
First, we have the parents, we have teachers, then we have government at large. For me, yes, Felix is talking about finding a way we are going to have education move forward. I don't oppose that, but I'm very, very against practical or physical attending of classes, knowing how institutions work here, that this is something we may fail at the end of the day. So one, with government, we must allocate funds and ensure Countries have done this, online learning. We've spent so much on a number of things I don't want to mention here. We've had misallocations. We've had wastages where they shouldn't have gone. If we make education our priority, like we've made security a priority of this country for so many years, we can ensure that we have either online learning, or we can have
the options that we have for alternative learning. Actually, it can't be online learning, it's alternative learning. The alternative learning initiatives that we have currently, you have through the newspapers that are
these
distributed.
Are some, I'm still looking at I'm going to come to those. Yeah, we can perfect that online. We can use the radios we have and see how best. This is why we bring in the parents' role now. How best as a parent, knowing the value of education to your child, how do you monitor, how do you supervise that? If there are well-known programs and classes at a particular time, how do you ensure your child participates? And if possible, how do you have feedback here? Then teachers in communities where they are. Teaching is a noble cause and a profession. It's not something that you're just going to walk out because the situation are not favoring you. How do we ensure these communities we have? I know of communities where a nursery teacher is and says, well, at such a time, we can gather few people in our population, in our community, and carry out some bit of learning. So if we all up our game, I believe we can have education at such a time when we are using the electronic media, the print media, and where possible, the internet.
Third world country cannot afford what Robert Kirabo is suggesting.
It's what I started with. That, you see, it's easy to throw around some of these opinions, but they fall on wet grass. Why? Because of the earlier statement I said, that what is the ratio of the practicability of some of the things we are trying to do vis-a-vis the theoretical aspect. You see, I've been seeing people trying to teach on TV and on radio. But believe you and me, it is just another waste of money. We must go, and by the way, sometimes God blesses us in such things. Maybe it is a wake-up call for the education sector and the country at large, that we must ascertain that we have lost it in terms of education. How about we start on a fresh page? Most recent, I think for the last 3 or 4 years, His Excellency has been trying to allow the sound of technical and vocational studies. He had picked up the move. He had talked about, that's why he also started up his initiatives, I think skilling,
the girl child,
to do with that. All these things. Now, these are the evidences that there's something needed. For example, Robert, when you go to countries like China, Japan, you go to countries, even the US of this world, you go to countries that are key in terms of innovation, they are prepared for this. Now, how do you prepare for an innovative country? It is by simply introducing people to practicability, because once you open the locks of practice and having practical work, you've opened up people's minds to thinking, because then they can be able to directly deal with the challenges they face. However, when you teach Mr. Kirabo Robert things like the Rhinelands in German, you teach them the great trade, it's called what? There's that thing that the slave, people who came to trade, long distance trading. And between you and me, and I would want just for us to share openly, really, in today's competitiveness amidst COVID-19, can you trade long distance slave? I don't even know how the long slave distance trade.
Long distance trade.
How do you what do you trade that for? Is it sellable for what and to who?
In line with the profitability
and the world has changed.
Contribution.
That's the thing.
Yes.
Now, a child from China will come and tell you we are in COVID. Okay, people can't interface. Okay, we need a robot. We need a robot. As a child from Uganda who has struggled, poor child, poor Nkunda, poor Kirabo, poor Naroga Sama, is struggling to waste a lot of time.
Actually, in that regard,
studying Indian
there's an example. There's a person I know who has actually been doing medicine in China, but because of what happened in China, they had to transfer back. But the university in China, what they did for them is that you can have some online teaching, and then you are attached, you find an attachment to a national hospital here or wherever it is that you come from originally, and then that's a placement program. So you get to have the practicability through the national hospital that gives you the guidelines on the practicability part of what they're studying, which I found so innovative, as you stated. And so as we close, again, the question still remains between us three. What is the forged way forward to have education resuming and be consumed as a right and to the benefit of the next 20 years?
And for me, let me just say this lastly. The very small present we can get as a generation, this time's generation, is to the leaders to make sense, to help us make sense. And not that there is no sense, but to make more sense out of education process. You cannot study 2 years. Nursery is how many years? Some of us did study those things. Okay, 3 years. Then primary is 7 years, these are 10 years. Then 6 years. And probably like me 5 years at university. That's a total of how many years? And the best you can do is come out after over 20 years, honestly speaking, looking for a job. Honestly speaking, after 20 years, you come out as a job seeker. Now, you cannot tell me that our system cannot teach Kirabo to come out as an innovator, as someone to come. 20 years
already to be a problem
in
solver.
case all things fail, where shall we be left?
Well, maybe
back to shambles, wait for schools to reopen, and then
right
start
now,
all over
dear
again.
parent, focus on informal education for your children as you wait to see. But this is an eye-opener to government that we must have a U-turn in how we teach. Let's tailor-make an education system that is going to bring a Ugandan that we need and can wither such shocks. We don't know if there will be COVID or SCOVID 2020, 2030 or whatever, any disease. So
people can't
this
make
is a
toothpicks.
Okay, good morning, Uganda. Kamanzi Crispas, I think the government should help students in rural areas obtain the infrastructure, hardware, and high-quality institutional resources. We have done from Soroti. Thanks for the show. My information to Mr. Kirabo is that his suggestion of online distribution of home materials is far-fetched. Okay, Felix, you are right. Shifts work best. With the level of corruption, online gadgets won't be availed. How many of Ugandans' population can do learning in distance? Okay, more of your questions coming through, but we'll look at that later on. Now we get to look at the dailies this morning and what they have to say in the black and white of it. Good morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Echa COVID-19 kijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by was brought to you by
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Century Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
The will, there is always a way. Determination can lead you to heights you never thought you'd get to. So as you begin your morning, have a positive mindset, have that will, be determined, be consistent, then you'll be more than a conqueror. That is a message here to you as we usher you into some of the stories that are making headlines in the dailies. I'm holding the New Vision and Felix has the Daily Monitor and Daily Nation. Big headline there, just what we've been discussing, vaccination. She says teachers have the key to school reopening. The question is, how accessible, available are the vaccines? Then Bunyoro University to open next year. There is a picture there, President Yoweri Museveni with a section of leaders that is from Bunyoro University. Still in the New Vision, government defends move to allow Afghanistan refugees in Uganda. This is now the talk of town. When are they arriving? More to that. Then also look at the New Vision, Salam Musumba to pay costs in Kadaga suit. That is something we're just talking about in our program here, how some people are deciding to withdraw for the good and peace of the area. Now the New Vision also brings you over 400 offers in Education Service Commission, Uganda Railways Corporation and UVRI. There for you. So please, you can get to know, maybe this could be your breakthrough. Ugandan's paid tribute, that is a tribute, continues to pour out for Lieutenant General Pecos Kutesa, who died on Tuesday at the age of 65. Still, the New Vision brings you education, that is Senior 4 English, Entrepreneurship, ICT, plus Senior 2 Physics and Mathematics as one of the alternatives to education at such a time. Let's Nkunda.
Now, of course, in the Daily Monitor, health officials hide offer for COVID-19 jabs. And they give you COVID-19 jabs that have been received at least up to date. We got at least 864,000 from AstraZeneca, that is from COVAX, and at least 100,000 Oxford AstraZeneca from India, and 175,200, that is Oxford AstraZeneca from France, 286,000 also from Norway, and 300,000 Sinovac from China. Now, immunization by priority groups and how far it has gone, also they give you a breakdown, but also how to muramye Nasty's 6-year-old daughter, COVID, and Immaculate's father, future father-in-law played matchmaker. But also details on Afghans heading to Uganda. Kadaga celebrates after petition is withdrawn, and government announces mass polio immunization. Now, inside the papers, President Museveni refused to assent to the sexual offence bill, saying many provisions are redundant and already provided for in other legislations. But how could also Parliament miss this? Honestly,
that was one of the heated debates in Parliament.
Then there was no heat if they didn't see these things. What heat was there?
Very interesting debate there.
Also, we see that is former Machinde Sabagabo municipality withdraws petition against David Seru Kenya. And here in the photos, we see President Museveni and government officials join local dancers during their celebrations to mark 6th anniversary of the regime's ascension to power. And today, that's President Idi Amin, I beg your pardon. And students win secondary school drama contest, that is in 1975. And Adolf Hitler becomes president of Germany, that is in 1934. I wish you see the photo of this Hitler man with his mustache, unique mustache.
Back to the New Vision, we begin with the Uganda COVID-19 tracker, where as of date, new confirmed cases that have been confirmed, that's the last 24 hours, 108 cases. Positivity rate going down at 3.4%. The new death, 12. Total death so far in our country due to COVID-19, 2,917. Just a reminder of the symptoms here. If you have a fever, cough, shortness of breath, sore throat and headache, rush and seek medical attention. The earlier, the better. Today in history, Congo tribes attack UPDF, and still on this very date, but the year 1934, Hitler becomes president of Germany. The same picture there, that mustache. And so much regarding twins, how twins were treated in, that is Chinyoro culture. I don't know if Funkunda has ever attended one of these rituals of twins in Uganda.
Well, not really, because of what I've heard about them. Now we'll cross over to sports. In the Daily Monitor, we'll be looking at Polish juvenilist auction silver medal to help infant get surgery, and nobody not aware of any hosting of refugees. And Paralympics Games, Tokyo still alive, but of course also that is a Chesang Ice 300-meter podium, and actually quarters pitch wears best ever look there. I see one of my very good friends, Ali Guma Rita, and of course former USPA President Sabiti, trying to monitor the works going on there. Thank you so much, Ali Guma Foundation. And postponement puts Uganda Cup completion back in limbo.
In the New Vision Sport, why few female coaches? That is a question, and they give the answer there. Then a bad day at Kasarani. That is, we look at how our team is performing, Uganda under 20, but also how much is it? That is where we are seeing our gold boys and girls here that are still waiting for some of their promise. World champion Halima Naka is still waiting for her car promised. Then we have how much is it? We see World Olympics and Commonwealth champion Joshua Cheptegei is waiting for his cash. But remember, these and more, Ruben will be here to give you all the updates and those catchy stories in the world of sports.
Well, of course, looking at still the papers, we must say that much more is still inside the papers for you who would want to get what's going on. But let's look at what's happening in the Daily Nation. We see Uhuru corners Oka, chief to back Raila, and leaders from Farm Up deal after tomorrow's court ruling on building bridges initiative. Quite a heated move there in Kenya. And of course, we see also athletics championships. Kenya begins hunt for medals, and win for men as MPs back bill on 50-50 child care. Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. And that's where I want to pick it up with Priscilla. What is your true sentiment about care? For example, maintenance. The law is that men should by far maintain families or children in case they separate. But the Kenyans have come out to say it's a 50-50. Women bring 50, man bring 50. Yes, Priscilla.
If we are pushing for the equality gender program, then it better be equality all the way. Yeah, so I do side with the Kenyans to actually push for that, so that the women can know that whatever it is they're pushing for is actually going to come to a cost there. Speaking of coast, for traffic update, we want to start off our journey from Miami Beach. Did you know there's actually a Miami Beach in Uganda?
Yes, I actually know.
You know?
In Luzira.
Exactly.
Yes, Port Bell. I remember we used to go there when we were at Shimoni every Saturday after classes. We used to have classes up to about midday. Then we would had a friend of mine called Kawere, Shafiq. No, you can't. We'd get a taxi, and then there was Wumeme, all these things. Then you go up to Luzira, then you would walk. Miami Beach. Yeah, I remember.
That is the place we are starting from today. At the Lake Shores of Lake Victoria, we get to now step into Port Bell Road and see how it's actually building up in terms of traffic. Port Bell Road, majorly you do have Ministry of Water and Environment in this particular area because of the Port Bell pier there that actually brings in trade, especially from the coast. Also for our neighbors, either Tanzania or Kenya, when it comes to goods that are being brought into the country. So a lot of shipment actually takes place at this particular port. Now we get to see how traffic is actually flowing within Luzira town, and that gives you an indicator The green zone is actually showing you traffic that is happening more or less on the other side of who is coming into Luzira vis-a-vis who is actually getting out of Luzira to get into the heart of the city. Now that does make sense because again there's a couple of industries. There's an industry, there's a ministry department here, there's also a post office. There are a couple of entities here that actually would require that people get into this office area in Luzira town. But away from that, we get to see the rest of Port Bell heading into Chitintale. We have a jam on either side of the road. We do have the road coming in from Chitintale Hospital past the Central Market in Chitintale, bringing some sort of traffic jam there. You do have Port Bell continuing onwards, where we get to see in detail what that road is looking like in the reality. From Chitintale Road intercepting with Port Bell Road, traffic on either side, but it's flowing traffic. It doesn't show any red or orange zones, meaning that it's actually not being challenged in any way. You do have the areas of Mutungo, Bina, you do have the areas where you do have the hospital and international school on the other side, coming in and using the Chireka route, and that Chireka route does interface with Bugolobi at the Port Bell Road corner there, and this corner usually is the one where you would be seeing some jam, people trying to get into the heart of the city. But you only see orange zones away from this interception heading into Chitintale, but you also do have an orange zone here, but majorly caused by commuter taxis. At this particular junction, because cars are trying to get into Port Bell Road, that is why you'd be seeing some jam. Also, there's been a couple of potholes on this route most recently. We are waiting for KCCA to clear all the potholes in the city, but funny enough, when they clear potholes on Port Bell Road, then the potholes on Luviri Road actually open up yet again. So I wonder quality of material, sustainability of this project of covering the potholes around the city. I wonder how visible it is. Anyway, sticking to Port Bell Road, you do have the orange and red zones now building up traffic, residential areas obviously, but also the back route coming through and contributing to the flow of jam on Port Bell Road, heading either into Nakawa or if you're heading into Bulgolobi Trading Center. Now this particular junction is where you actually also get to have jam building up in that direction, and you get to see Port Bell Road having serious jam for traffic to and from, but on Spring Road heading into Bugolobi Trading Center, there's actually no jam or traffic to and from. It's just normal cars. There's nothing to fret about. So if you are heading into Bugolobi, or if you wanted to get into the heart of the city, and Bugolobi is a good alternative because it looks a clean route past the trading center. You get to see the Spring Road is only having jam around Centenary ATM on Bugolobi stretch, but then you do have commuter taxis here that contribute to the jam. Also on this particular stretch here, you do have continued potholes regardless of the fact that the road is wide. The rest of Spring Road away from Bugolobi gets to show you that it is clear. We do have Katazamiti Road that is bringing in traffic from people that are coming in from either Nakawa, or they have faced a lot of jam coming in from Port Bell Road and they'd rather connect to Spring Road. So this is a connector route from that direction. The rest of Spring Road this morning, except for the interception again at this particular junction, Lumathi Avenue does and Luthuli Avenue does enter into the industrial area, but then again where you do have the Village Mall there and the Shell, you do have jam that is also catching up there, and simply because maybe the trucks are trying to get onto the road and connect to Chireka Road to avoid the cumbersome jam in Nakawa. Perhaps that's why you do have an orange zone here of cars trying to crisscross there. The rest of Spring Road getting into the heart of the city does not have as much jam as we would have expected to see. Intercepting with the 5th Street into industrial area is where you do have jam building up because people from Namungo is it Namuongo? Yes, Namuongo are using 5th Street to actually either get into Bugolobi, Chireka Road, or even Mutungo Bina, or they're using this very same road to connect to Spring Road and get into Ginger Road. So this is an alternative route for people who are trying to avoid the jam on the roundabout at Mukwano and also the jam at the traffic lights on Ginger Road. They'll usually use this alternative, then get themselves onto the Ngogo bypass on the other side. The rest of Spring Road doesn't seem to show up any traffic up until it connects to Old Port Bell Road, and then Old Port Bell Road is going to lead you to the Airtel roundabout this morning. But Old Port Bell Road, the route is clear. Obviously the road is wider. The potholes were dealt with by KCCA and that team. Now this brings us to the Airtel roundabout this morning, which you see then starts to have a bit of jam build up simply because of the rotation of vehicles here being slow, contributing to the jam heading towards the Airtel roundabout. A sneak peek onto the main route, which is the Kampala Ginger Highway. You get to see still the red zone is up to or onto the roundabout that away from the Kampala Ginger Way. You get to see that traffic on either side is actually no more traffic. There's nothing for you to worry about. And obviously because of management of traffic police here, this is why you have these orange to red zones appearing on either side. For people that are trying to head into the heart of the city, you will have to bear some patience in your time to be able to maneuver yourself through here. And as I said, expectations are that the Mukwano roundabout equally also has a lot of jam, and true to it, it's having a lot of red that is appearing on this particular Mukwano roundabout access road entering onto the traffic lights of Ginger Road. So 8th Street is also having a lot of jam for people coming in from Mbuyenga, trying to use this as a back route on Mbogo Road, coming in from Kabalagala, coming in from Kansanga, using it as a back route to connect to the Mukwano roundabout to avoid the jam that is happening in Zambia. So pretty much you get to see that that's how the traffic is looking like this morning. Good morning to you, Molen Kenyana. As you are joining us for weather, nature and update, I saw a story. In Ethiopia, there's a flood that has overtaken a town, which is a sad story, and how quickly we can be able to respond to saving lives and also the aftermath of flooding in such a country that is marred by a lot of war and a lot of conflicts within different regions. Good morning.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Priscilla, and all our viewers. Well, it is a sad story coming in this morning from Addis Ababa. After that heavy downpour, there is flash flooding in the city, and this continues to be a threat in terms of the economy across the city as we see more and more of these floods occurring in Ethiopia. Now, this comes also after our seasonal and regional forecast for this region having predicted that there are going to be more and more rains coming in. But of course now there is no way you can't stop such a disaster from happening. It is still going to be something that Ethiopia has to look into and find ways around it. Otherwise it is really sad news coming in from that, Priscilla.
Thank you so much. While the European continent is actually suffering with wildfires everywhere, in Africa we are suffering with flooding. Just most recently we had riverbanks breaking yet again in western Uganda. So the different challenges, but nevertheless they do affect nature, weather and climate, which Molen Kenyana is going to be taking you through shortly. At 8 a.m. we do have Robert Kirabo going to be having a discussion for our Good Morning Uganda agenda, and Ruben Pima Chibirango will be coming out to close it, but also answer the question on the New Vision Sports page, where they're asking themselves, women coaches, why are they few in such a time as this, when there's development groups, development entities, development committees for women in sports. Have yourselves a wonderful morning.
Yes, thank you, Priscilla. Now, in times when we look at extreme weather and climate variation, we do expect to have more of these events continuing to happen across different parts of the world. Now, the story coming in from Ethiopia shows that 7 people have been killed by this flash flooding across the city, and also more property that has been destroyed. Now, the Addis Ababa Fire and Emergency Rescue Team really came in on time to find ways of getting people who were still trapped in their houses after the emerging flash flooding within the city. Well, the forecast around Ethiopia also showed above normal rainfall for this time of the year for different areas. Now, Addis Ababa has been also in that hotspot for more rains coming in through for this season. But now this is just the beginning. We do have the September to December rainy season coming across the region, and it will be interesting at the end of this month. Actually, that is when we're holding one at Regional Center to see more on the prospects that we have in terms of our forecast, and also more on what you have those extreme weather events. Now, also we have a continuing story from Haiti that is showing residents being devastated after the earthquake, and now that they were amidst dealing with the earthquake, they did have a tropical storm moving in. That was a tropical storm Grace. Now that has sent in more and more devastating effects. Most of the homes that have been destroyed, and a lot of people actually died. The death toll now is nearing 2,000 people. Well, the UN chief has sent out a message to the Haitians reeling from the earthquake. Now, the 7.2 magnitude earthquake on Saturday destroyed more than 60,000 homes and killed nearly 2,000 people. Now, the UN chief, Antonio Guterres, is reaching out to the people of Haiti days after the Caribbean nation was struck by this earthquake that killed nearly 2,000 people and left thousands homeless. Now, in his tweet, he again cautioned people to be cautious, and also the prospects of heavy rains in the wake of tropical storm Grace. Now, Guterres says that you are not alone. We stand by your side in these trying times. Now, also to adding on what the UN chief has said, we do have organizations that are coming up to help this area. We did see Obama also tweeting on and also on other social media platforms. The Obama Foundation has also joined the UN in providing more and more support to the Haitians. Now, not only that, the famous Naomi Osaka, that is a tennis player, she has also pledged for her next tournament, that is just in a few days. She pledged that all her prize will go to the rescue team in Haiti. Now, this also continues to be part of the efforts that we are seeing across the world. More and more people coming up to form a team to be able to help out in such events. Now, Haiti has been one of the poorest countries actually across the Caribbean, from earthquakes to flooding, and also they have had more humanitarian issues, so it is really under stress. And to see more and more of these organizations come up to help is really something that is good, and I was basically impressed by what the UN is doing, and also Obama Foundation coming up. We haven't seen a lot of foundations come up before in Haiti like they are doing right now. That is a very good thing to see coming up. Well, we want to come back home here and take a look at what the weather is like across the country. Now, from our satellites this morning, most areas have been dealing with mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, but also stretching from last evening into the night. We did see most of those rains come up, especially in the evenings. We had more rains across most, especially the central, across Mitiana, Mukono, Nakasongola. Yesterday evening was dealing with a lot of those rains, but coming into the night, especially West Nile, we did see those rains continue. But for now, we're seeing a lot of systems are starting to relax, and we're looking at mostly a sunny morning across most areas, and also those intervals of cloudy conditions. But we shall be looking at more in our forecast. Well, we start off with the central Lake Victoria Basin. That is where we have Kampala, we have Wakiso, Entebbe and Mukono. That is where we're forecasting intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions for this morning, and temperatures are at a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade. Looking at central northern Uganda, where we have Gulu, Kitgum, Padel and Adjumani, we're forecasting light rains. Those will be across a few areas, and temperatures are at a warm 27. We do expect more rains to develop over that area later in the afternoon as well. eastern parts of Central, where we have Wobolenzi, Buroli, Nakaseke, we have Ruwero, Nakasongola in that category. We're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, and temperatures are likely to be at 27. That is a warm morning over there. Well, looking at Moria, Kumi, Katakwi, Soroti, that is the eastern part of Uganda, also forecasting to start off with mostly a mix of clouds and sunshine, and it will clear into a sunny day over that area. You can expect that, and temperatures will be going up in the afternoon, but for this morning, we're forecasting at 26 degrees centigrade over that area. We're looking at Mount Elgon Highlands. That is Eastern Lake Victoria Basin, where we have Tororo, Busia, Iganga, and Jinja. We're forecasting intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, and temperatures are forecasted to be at a cool 26 degrees centigrade. This is actually similar to what we had yesterday across that area. The weather is going to feel like it was yesterday morning. Well, we want to also look at Mbale, Bududa, that is Mount Elgon Highlands, where we have a mix of clouds and sunshine. Temperatures are likely to be at 26 degrees centigrade. That area can expect to have light rains later in the afternoon. We see a developing system that might be bringing us rains later in the afternoon. Well, southwestern Uganda, we're forecasting light showers across parts of Mbarara, Ibanda, Ushenyi, and Rubirizi. But those will be also over a few areas, and temperatures will be at a warm 26 degrees centigrade for this part of the country. Well, we do have more coming in on western parts of Lake Victoria. Our forecast shows a mix of clouds and sunshine for this morning. That is across Kalisizo, Sembabule, Rakai, and Masaka. Temperatures are likely to be at 26 degrees centigrade. Also, this area can expect more developing light rains as the day progresses. Well, we continue to receive your pictures on your sunrise over your areas. Now, this morning, we have one that is coming through, very beautiful sunrise pictures. Now, usually in the mornings, we do have more moisture in the atmosphere that actually creates that good look that can project a sunset. Now, that is coming in from one of our viewers, also sending greetings to the team at Good Morning Uganda. Well, keep those coming, keep them really live and coming. We want to see how it is looking like now. He also talks about, it looks like it's going to rain. Well, there are those clouds in the background. It seems like they could be actually precipitating. I didn't get where that is coming from, but you could also be surprised that those clouds will actually clear, and that could actually end up being mostly a sunny day for you. Well, thank you very much for sending those in. Priscilla is also here to take us through most of the messages that are actually coming in, and also we get your comments on our poll question. That is all from me. I will be leaving you with Priscilla.
Well, thank you so much, Molan. Surely, I see a very interesting picture, and for me, this picture actually says a lot. The electric poles, you do have antennas here, and this is much in Yeruafu from one of our adult listeners, and that is Derek. But then the question becomes, what type of clouds are these? Nimbus clouds? Cumulus clouds? But that's Molan Kenyana. Which clouds are those?
Those are actually low clouds. They are cumulus clouds, and specifically those ones that are hippie, those are stratocumulus clouds. Now, he's right to say it could be raining soon, because such clouds are usually associated with rainy conditions. Low clouds, but mostly stratocumulus.
All right. Yeah. So apparently there are clouds that are hippie. In other words, they have some hips. So if a cloud has some hips, please do expect some showers of rain. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Still cricket to Derek. In response to virtual learning in rural areas, it is hard to actually carry out that particular nature of learning. First of all, very little households can afford a radio set in villages. Secondly, some radio frequencies cannot reach their areas. This is a very good deep analysis. And lastly, majority of the people in rural areas are totally ignorant about that kind of system. They don't know whether it exists, or for sure it failed in urban areas. How do you expect it to work in rural areas? Okay, that's a deep analysis. Thank you so much, Derek, for your response in that regard. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to tell you there online studies, radio and TV still need time ahead. In my opinion, I do support Felix's views. This is Charles. Okay, all right. We're asking ourselves really, how can we forge a way forward with the education system resumption so that it's sooner than later? GMU schools in Uganda have a long way to recover. The challenges are too many. The NCDC has not generated a Ugandan-made curriculum that is intended to actually address the needs of Ugandans as a country. No emphasis on work creation, creating section in the curriculum, as these are seen as pathways for those who have failed in life. We only think of 4 for 4 in primary and 8 for 8 in secondary. Another factor is that slots for money is only put at the top ministry officials' desk and at empowerment of the teachers as curriculum implementers. As for now, how many teachers have ICT skills? There are just a few. That's a good analysis. Now a big question, how has Kenya done it to open amidst no vaccination of all teachers? Let's borrow a leaf from Kenya and Tanzania, and that is Sergeant Bernard. Okay, thank you so much, Sergeant. Also on your comments, our education leaders at the ministry seem to be sleeping on the job. Before Kenya opened its schools at the beginning of 2021, in 2020, the Education Ministry organized village teaching, and that is where teachers in that village or area were registered and offered materials for clustering or teaching in the learners in that area. Okay, so if there's a teacher in Nyonyintono, that teacher actually gets to teach the students within Nyonyintono, which makes a lot of sense. And I know some private entities have adopted that formula in most recent times across some towns here in Uganda. Felix, you're right, shifts work best. With the level of corruption, online gadgets won't be availed. How many of the Ugandan population can actually do learning from a distance? And that is Gongo George. Good morning to you, pals. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for your views and your comments. We duly appreciate them here on Good Morning Uganda. And as we get into the 8 o'clock hour, Good Morning Uganda does continue with the agenda and the sports update into the next hour. Have yourselves a wonderful morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Echa COVID-19 kijja kuggwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love myself.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co-Uganda, Office of the President.
Pick of the Day on UBC, brought to you by was brought to you by.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.